When I woke up this morning, there were two things on my mind. One, that I am a very old woman. Because you see, today is my 90, I almost said 91st birthday, but no, it's my 90th birthday. And second, how thankful I am to be here. I don't always feel this way. When I was 60, 65, I had no desire to live to be 90 years old. I imagined diapers and full care, not being able to take care of myself at all. Not even sure if I know who I was, who my babies were. But God has blessed me beyond anything that I could have asked Him for. I do very well. For the most part, I live by myself. Although I will explain later just what that means. It's not really by myself, but I have my own space. I am a widow. My wonderful, always and forever love, Mark James Young, died 15 years ago. We would be married 73 years if he was still here. I was 17, he was 18, and we were in love, and we stayed in love until he took his last breath, and I am still in love with him. In my mind, in my heart, he's still that handsome young man who I would have followed to the ends of the earth. We had a good life. I remember many days being kind of scared because our lives were so blessed. The life that we lived has been abundant. Oh, we had hard times. But the abundance is the love and respect and appreciation that we always had for each other. It never waned, it never diminished, it just grew. We grew up together, and thankfully, we just grew closer. We have three children, two boys and one girl. Montague is our oldest son. Maximus is the middle child. Madeline is our baby girl. And I can't not include Eliza, who is Maximus's wife, who is a daughter in every way except me giving birth to her. She is my angel. She really is. Montague has one son. Only recently has Sydney become an active part of our family because his mother did not want Montague or us to have anything to do with Sydney. It was a court battle. It was not pleasant, and Montague pulled back because he did not want it to be more difficult for his child. It was hard. It is a dark time in his life. But somewhere along the way, Sydney found out the truth. I don't know where or how. I haven't asked. Didn't matter. It just doesn't matter. He and Montague are building a solid, loving relationship. Sydney has two boys and a lovely wife. And they are Ashton and Jason. And we see quite a bit of them. And I hate that Mark didn't get a chance to see this. He would have been pleased. The thought that we had a grandson that we couldn't see was painful for both of us. It was painful for all of us to see Monty in so much pain was even more difficult. Maximus has Madison, McKelty, and Maximilian. Now, Maddie, we call Maddie. Well, Madison, we call Maddie. McKelty, we call Mickey. And Maximilian is called Maxie. Maximus is we just call him Max. Madeline has a Jason, a Camelot, and a Grant. Neither side, well, neither Mark's family or my family, well, there's not a lot of girls. There are mostly boys, which pretty much guarantees that the girls are going to be treated even more special than girls should be treated. And they are special. They they really are. Mickey has one son. She is a widow. And he is JR. He's named after his dad. Maximilian has Little Max. We actually call him Maxie. And Charlie. Madison has Ash and Tyler. I try to keep up with all of the names, and sometimes I have to write them down and read them out loud. The one thing about getting older is some days your memory is extremely sharp. Sometimes it seems to be sharper than most of the people around you. And there are days when it's just kind of foggy. But that's okay. That's okay. I know who I am. I know where I am. I know everything I need to know. So when I forget something, I don't sweat it. We live in a small mountain town. Well, not quite, but I love mountains. So we don't really live in the mountains. We live close to the mountains, about an hour away from Seattle, Washington. It's beautiful and it's home. Mark James Young believed in independence and ownership of property. Oh, I haven't even told you my name. My name is Sara Mae, still young, and I love trees. So Washington was the perfect place for us. Now, you're probably wondering if it was difficult for a black man back then to acquire property. Well, Mark was strategic in just about everything he did. We started off with 1 acre, and today, my family, our babies, because that they'll always be our babies, they have 150 acres that they share. Mark was able to see his dream brought to fruition. I I pray and I believe that he died in peace. I know I tried to make his world as peaceful and content and happy as I could, and I know that he did the same for me. So at the end of the day, what else can we do? What else can we do? His presence is still very much here. Not only was he a phenomenal husband, but he was a phenomenal man, which also means that he was a phenomenal father, grandfather, great grandfather. When we're together, we talk about him almost in reverence because, well, he deserves that. Was he perfect? Oh, no. In fact, he was very focused, much to my chagrin, because I don't have to be that focused all the time. But we complimented each other because whereas I would kind of veer off the path that we had chosen, he would very gently and lovingly help me back. And when he would get so focused that it was uh, irritating, I could calm him down. I could convince him to take a deep breath and stop and enjoy the fruits of his labor. And labor he did. There was nothing that he wanted to do that he did not excel in. Our educations were limited compared to what a lot of people had around us. I was an LVN for many years. Mark was a certified mechanic, and we both love cars. So that worked. We love cars. We love motorcycles. We love fast cars, and we love motorcycles. And he loved the earth. We have an Apple business that is that's been good to us. It was a struggle at first. The business is, well, it was hard to break into being a black farmer. But again, he was focused and he pushed and he was very good, and we had a an excellent product. And he, after going back taking some business classes, that with his natural ability, he became an exceptional businessman. He insisted that his children take extra classes in business. He was also interested in security. Uh, I won't say paranoid or obsessed, but it was the times. It was where we lived. It was his fierce compulsion to make sure his family was safe. So that became part of our business. Well, our businesses as well. So we had farming. We had um, a mechanic shop that specialized in customizing um, vintage cars. Uh, and we had the beginning of a security company that my boys have built up um, into a very lucrative business. They love it. Um, God has blessed them to meet people along the way that trust our reputation. And that's a really long story, but we are blessed. We are extremely blessed. It's interesting because I mentioned a little bit about Monty's son, Sydney. Well, we also had it started off, well, Maximus's middle son, Maximilian, has, as I said earlier, two children. Charlie is a girl. I don't know if I can't remember if I said that. Um, I know I said how special little girls are in our family. Well, Charlie, we almost lost her. Not by illness, but her mother took her away too. But Max was not going to allow that to happen, and we were not going to allow that to happen either. Not again. I have kind of wondered about some of the choices of some of my babies. They're getting better at it, but these two, they picked. They made some bad choices, and Lord forgive me for saying bad choices, but they weren't the best. Charlie's mother's name is Monique. She's from New Orleans. Now that caused me a little pause. And let me be clear, I'm not judging New Orleans. I have family there. But see, I can comment on it because I know the area very well. I know the history and I know why it's there. I know what it is. And I know that while there are extremely good people there, as there are anywhere, I'm trying to be fair, there's also a culture that is so stuck in keeping their bloodline quote unquote pure, whatever the hell that is. I'm sorry. And well, let me explain. I have a lighter complexion. Um, Mark, Mark was a beautiful, beautiful black man, dark and rich, and we made some beautiful babies. None of them have my complexion. You can see tints, small tints, and as everybody knows, most light-skinned women are like complected women, like dark-skinned men like light-skinned or light complected women. It's just the way it is. But there are parts of Louisiana, but we're talking about New Orleans now, that's very important to them. So our Max was not accepted by what they call her Nikki, by Nikki's family. He was too dark. I've often wondered if they loved each other. I don't. I think it was more lust than love. She was a pretty woman. The only thing she didn't like about herself was her hair texture. Because, as most of you know, most those black people who fall into that category, they have really pretty, curly, straight like hair. Well, I don't know what happened with Nikki's family, but they don't have that. I mean, it's hair, you know. Well, but you can always, you cover that with wigs and then later weaves and all kind of things. But she was not happy with that. But everything else, she thought she was the cat's meow. She and her family, but I'm not going to go into a lot of details about that. But Max also has a son, as I mentioned, and he's 4 years older than Charlie. And Nikki was jealous. She came here. She came here and stayed with us the last couple of months. And no, they didn't get married. She stayed with us for the last couple of months of her pregnancy. So Charlie was born here. Um, a beautiful baby, not just physically, but her aura, everything about her was just, it touched all of us except Nikki. Yeah, probably some of it was because she was a little girl, and as I said before, a couple of times, little girls are treasured. All of our babies are, but well, we fell in love with her instantly. I mean, instantly. And Nikki couldn't. She couldn't deal with that. She didn't want to. She didn't want to share Max with Maxie, and she didn't want to share Max with her daughter. So she would have little tantrums. She didn't take care of the baby. We did. She didn't want to. She didn't bond. She never bonded with the baby. Um, we talked her into breastfeeding the first week, and she stopped. She refused. She said it was too uncomfortable, and she just refused to do it. Well, we couldn't strap her down and make her do it, although I was really tempted. But well, there was nothing we could do about it. Well, to make a long story short, when Charlie was 2 months old, she left. She packed up the baby and she left. And when she went back to New Orleans, when Max called her, she told him that she was going to give the baby up for adoption. She didn't want her, and that was it. Well, it took all of us to calm him down, and we had to come up with a strategy. And yeah, Mark passed that gene down to his kids. They went to New Orleans and got the baby with an attorney. Well, we went because I woke up the morning that they were supposed to leave, and God had placed on my heart that I should go with them. And I went over and I talked to them, and because Eliza and Maximus were going to go, and I said, let me go. I think I should go. And there was an attorney because Max offered and she accepted $20,000 to sign over her parental rights. She didn't even hesitate. So it took, after her initial call saying she was going to put the baby up for adoption, we got an attorney, what we called our attorney, one of our no nonsense attorneys. They had the paperwork drawn up, they had the cashier's check cut, and they got everything done in under 48 hours. So we flew to New Orleans. It was Max, me, the attorney, and Montague. And if I cross up Maximus and Maximilian, Charlie's father is Maximilian. Maximus is my baby, and he is probably the most. He has less patience than any of my kids or his kids, too. Um, with great um, hesitancy, he and Eliza agreed to stay. They trust me. If I'm firm about something, they listen to me. And Mark assured them that it would be okay. But God was telling me for some reason I needed to be on that trip. I thought about it on the way, and I wasn't sure why it was important, but as I have already stated, I have roots there. And I can read people very well, and I can see beneath the surface. I can. I know now that Charlie has this gift because used properly, it is a gift. If Nikki could sell her baby to the baby's father and give up her paternal rights to her child, where did she come from? Why was she like that? Was she more than or even less than the spoiled young woman that we knew her to be? I needed to see, I needed to know, and I needed to be there when my family went there to meet these people. I had Elijah. Lord have mercy. Another thing about age, sometimes your tongue gets twisted. I had Liza pack a bag for Charlie. Formula, everything that she would need. So we left. We reached the house. Well, Max had called and told them that we would be there at 9 a.m. The one thing about my family is we are punctual. We do not move on CP time. Mark thought that was ridiculous. So do I. And we have instilled that into our children. The door was opened by who I would later find out was Nikki's younger sister. We knew she had a younger sister, but nobody spoke of her. I think Max had met her once when he went there, but since he wasn't welcome, he didn't go back. Nikki didn't speak of her at all, but well, no. Her name is Bridget, by the way, but she didn't open the door. Nikki's father opened the door. I did not sense any negativity from him, I sensed a weak man. And when I looked over at Royal Camouche, yeah, that's her name, Royal. Nikki's mother's name is Royal Camouche. And her father's name is Pierre. I don't, well, he opened the door for us. He spoke. We spoke. We went in. We spoke to Nikki and Royal. Royal looked as if she had been eating a persimmon. Chased by some lemons. But I don't care. I looked at her. She seemed very surprised to see me. She was surprised. I guess Nikki had mentioned to her my complexion. So it was interesting to see the look on her face. We got right to the you know to the reason we were there. Max didn't say anything. He was just I knew he was getting ready to say, "Where's my baby?" When bought Bridget brought Charlie from not necessarily the rear of the house, but kind of over to the middle. We'll say the middle of the house, one of the bedrooms. And she was holding Charlie, and she brought her straight to Max. And she handed very gently, with a lot of love. I could sense that immediately. And she looked as if she'd been crying. Um, she handed the baby to Max, and she told him that she had just given her a bath, and she had just fed her and given her a bath, and she was kind of sleepy, and she did look sleepy until she was in her daddy's arms. Her eyes popped open, and she looked at him, and she smiled. I mean, it was just that simple. She smiled. Bridget said, "Oh, she smiled at you," and tears were running down Max's face and mine. I didn't look around to see who else was affected by this. Um, the attorney, like I said, our no nonsense attorney, spoke up. He cleared his throat and he spoke up and said, "Well, is there some place that we can take care of this business?" Nikki said, "Sure, over here." So they went to the dining table, and he went over the paperwork that they had agreed upon. Nikki glanced at it. They didn't put the financial transaction part of it. The reason why, not to protect Nikki or Max or anybody except the baby. They did not want something to come up and this baby saw this paperwork and saw that she was sold. They had Bridget, the grandfather, and Montague as witnesses. The lawyer explained that he would file the papers um, when we got back to Washington. That made it easier because that's where Charlie was born. And he's told us later that he would file the papers in Louisiana just to be on the safe side. And he did that. And had a copy sent to Nikki. I trusted Bridget, which is the only reason that I did not change Charlie's clothes there and leave those clothes with them. That had been my plan. But again, I was following God's guidance with this, and I had taken the baby from Max, and she smelled fresh, and she looked at me and she smiled, and she knew us. I knew that. I knew that she would know us before I got there. Nikki and her mother didn't have anything to say to us. Um, Bridget brought out her diaper bag. I was going to leave it there, but these were her things. These were her things. I would dispose of them later. That's what I knew that I should do. Was I being overly cautious? No. No. Because I didn't feel anything positive from Royal Camouche. Like I said, I sensed weakness from Pierre. I sensed defiance, negativity, not total darkness from Royal, but very, very close. So I felt that's why I was there. I felt that she needed to see me and I needed to see, excuse me, we needed to see each other. We needed to have an understanding. Nikki was only concerned about Nikki. So I did not see her as a threat in any way. But Royal would do anything to protect the image, the persona, the facade that she had there. So, no, I didn't trust her. I didn't trust her at all. And yes, before we landed, I did some extreme praying. But I knew I didn't have to because I knew that's why God sent me there. Um, if you believe in God, then you have to know that evil is very much present. I said special prayers before we walked into the house. Well, before we left the hotel, I prayed over my family and the attorney. Extreme? No, 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 not at all. Prayer is the most powerful thing that God has given us. Prayer is how we talk to Him. Prayer is us being able to reach out to Him with love, with thankfulness, with need, with anything. He is our creator. And we put our faith in Him. And this is how we communicate with Him. He communicates with each of us in different ways. and I recognize his voice. We were there no longer than 20 minutes. 20 minutes. 20 minutes. 20 minutes and $20,000, and you give up all rights to your child. I have never understood it. I'm thankful for it because Charlie has always been a complete joy for us. They all are, but it was not easy for her. She was surrounded by love every second of her life. But her mother did not want her. And certain things were kept from her. But of course, you know, she had questions. And after a while, she stopped asking. She had love from the women in her world, she had love from the men in her world, but she did not have her mother's love. We could only do so much, but we did the best we could, and she knew that. She knew that. She was probably about 13 when I could see that she had come to a place of peace about it. So much happens when a female child transitions from the little girl to the woman, to the young woman that she's going to be. It's more than just a monthly cycle. It's more than that. It can be so hard. It can be an exciting time. It can be a hard time. It can be a confusing time. And poor women, we have to go through the same thing at menopause, but that's okay. We handle it. We handle it well. I knew when she had times that were hard. Liza and I knew. We let her know we were there for her, and she could talk to us. Sometimes she would just come and sit with me. But even as a little girl, sometimes she just wanted to sit in my lap. When she got too big for that, it was such a great loss. Such a great loss. But she is a healthy, beautiful woman. And I say healthy first because I meant that from an emotional place. Because just the events that took place that morning could have been so damaging to her. Just the absence of her mother's love could have had long-term effects that we would have been powerless to do anything about. I know Max was concerned about it. Sometimes I think he may still be concerned about it. Not not completely, but his heart was broken that his baby would have to deal with that. it was, none of us could imagine a woman being able to do that. Even with the situation with Sydney and Monty, Sydney's mother and Monty, they didn't need to be together. Their relationship was toxic, but she was a bitter, angry woman. But Sydney will tell us later that she was not just bitter and angry about Monty, she was bitter and angry about everything. And there are some women like that, and they do irreparable harm to their children. I had to talk to Sydney about his anger toward his mother. Um, and I had to bring some home truths to him. She planted horrible seeds when he was a child, but he did not stay a child. And his father reached out to him every year of his life. He didn't know that Monty had paid for his, well, Monty had set up a trust, or, well, I guess, yeah, a trust for his education that his mother did not give to him. Uh, he had no idea that Monty had been sending money to financially take care of him, not partially, but completely, his entire life. He was hurt and very angry. Monty was, he wrestled with whether or not he should tell him that, but I told him he has been told too many lies. He's a grown man and he needs to know the truth. Now, what he does with it is his choice. But I told him it was his choice to listen to what his father had to say. And he admitted that the only reason he started to look at it in the way that he should was because of a situation that his son was going through. And it was like he had an epiphany, or a light bulb went off. And he has tried, well, in his mind, he's trying to make it up to Monty, but Monty has assured him that he doesn't have to do that. He is his son and he loves him, and that is the past. And yes, decades have been lost with them. But he is just thankful for the time that they have now. And I understand that. I do understand that. It still breaks my heart that my baby, my first child, my firstborn, had to deal with that. But he did what he felt was best for his son by stepping back. It meant a lot to him to go to New Orleans with Max to get Charlie. And he told him that he regrets not going to get his son. But I had to remind him that he tried. He tried to go through the courts and it didn't work. She told some lies that were, we just shook our head. She fought dirty. She did. And he said, I don't want my son. I'm not doing this. I'm just not. I admire him for that. I respect him for that. And I hope that Sydney can um, one day understand the full magnitude of what his dad had to go through. So, yes, my family has valleys, had mountains to climb and valleys to get out of, and illnesses and betrayals and all kind of things. The same things that every other family has. But I don't dwell on that. I refuse to dwell on that because God has always been so good to us. We have worked hard for everything that we have. We work hard to maintain a strong family unit because the devil don't like strong families. Mm-mm. No, 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 no. When things are going really well, you know he ain't happy. So you have to stay prayed up. You have to. I can't end this without saying that God gave me music. It is my lifeline, and my musical gifts have been passed down to most of my children and my grandchildren. And that weren't passed down, my husband built me a music studio. If there was something that I couldn't teach, I was I was able to hire someone who could. My children and my grandchildren were strongly encouraged. They will say they had no choice, but that's not true. They did have a choice, but like I said, I'm just going to say strongly encouraged to learn how to play a musical instrument. Most of them can play more than one instrument. They're happy about it now. We have some amazing jam sessions. I am a spiritual, faith filled woman. We managed to build a strong, faith filled family. Some people don't quite understand me because I'm very active in my church. Um, I've been musical director forever. Well, not recently. I gave that up, but they still come to me for advice and consultations. It helps me to stay involved a little. I I play the piano every day. It's just, and I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful to be able to do that. Um, and I love secular music too. Let me be clear. I love love stories. I love songs. And I say stories because the lyrics to me tell a story. And you tell a story and you put music to it and it's beautiful. And I like R&B. I don't like rap. I've tried to listen to it. Some of the lyrics are very good. And I understand, just like music in general, it's something that the artist needs to say. And more than likely, it's something that listeners or his target audience, there's something that needs to be said and needs to be heard. It's just too far away from my generation. It's just too far away. And that doesn't mean it's bad either. I respect it. I cannot understand the need for the foul language and the over sexualized videos and things like that. That makes no sense to me. I don't consider that to be art, but that's me. That's my opinion. I know that there are couple of three generations who do see it as art. Um, but those are the times. Each generation has their own set of challenges, and but we survive. We get through it, and Lord, we just have to pray and pray and pray and try to maintain some goodness out of it. But see, it comes down to love. That's why I don't understand how anybody could believe in love, and God is love, and hear a man or a woman talking about their love. How is that bad? I don't understand that. And Lord, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't understand that. So, yeah, we probably had some non traditional lessons coming through our family. But I look at them and I see good people. Not perfect people, but I see good people who love the Lord. They may not talk about it. They may not hit you in the face with their Bible. They may not go to church every day, every Sunday. They may not go at all. But some of the most spiritually grounded, giving, and loving people that I know don't go to church. Oh, they did it one time. They may go back and forth. But that is not a prerequisite for God to love you and for you to love God. So today is my today is my 90th birthday. And I am so thankful to be able to be of sound mind, pretty much, sound body, pretty much, and surrounded by the love of my family. Being surrounded and just embraced by God's love for me. And I thank you, Heavenly Father, for allowing me to love you.